We've got a flag on the play. Preliminary signal is he was pushed out inside the 1. We've got a hold on San Francisco. This will come back.
10-yard penalty. Still, second down.
Quaim Harris.
Nice couple of plays by Quaim Harris. Here's a guy that was a #1 draft pick, and he got the procedure call. Now he's got the hold on what would be a touchdown. Number 77 playing right tackle. Just gets pressed right back into the quarterback and really had no choice at that point than to hold Bryce Fisher, but Alex Smith was out around the corner, and what a block Vernon Davis put on the end of this play to send Alex Smith into the end zone.
Ooh.
This takes Michael Boulware out of there.
Harris outweighs Fisher by 42 pounds, but Fisher bull rushed him. He'll swing it this side. Arnaz Battle going nowhere.
What a good play by Marcus Trufant on the outside. Boy, they have some cornerbacks in Seattle. Trufant had a terrible game last week, and I throw that one out. I've seen this kid play before, but between Marcus Trufant and Kelly Herndon and Kelly Jennings, they can play, and now the hurry-up comes for San
14
Francisco.
seconds. The 49ers will try to get into their playoff. This is Smith throwing incomplete for Vernon Davis, and with just 8 seconds left, Mike Nolan, we would assume, will send out his kicking team.
Well, disappointing, because really the 49ers beat themselves on that play, and in particular, Quaim Harris beat the 49ers on that drive. Quaim Harris has some difficulty in a lot of areas blocking, but it's not a good sign when your big tackle gets jammed right back into your quarterback.
This will be a 39-yard field attempt. Joe Nedney seeing his first attempt of the night. Nedney splits the uprights. And still just a couple of ticks left in the first half. The 7-3 ball game. The 49ers have to consider themselves very fortunate to be 7-3 at this point.
Well, and I'll tell you the other thing, that when you have a running football team, it's always easier in the second half than it is the first half, because defensive linemen get a little tired. The linebackers aren't running quite as fast as they were in the first half. Typically, running teams are much more productive in the second half than they are in the first.
And while Frank Gore only has 34 yards on 14 carries in this half, it's worth noting that when they met just 3 weeks ago, Gore set a franchise record with 212 yards against this same Seahawks defense.
But the Seahawks tonight have come at him with a little different plan. There's been a lot of movement, a lot of attacking from the outside, the slower developing running plays. They're trying to use Larry Allen and pull him out in front. And the Seahawks are doing a nice job tonight with their speed on the outside of getting penetration from Lofa Tatupu and Bryce Fisher and those guys, Julian Peterson, hitting them hard on the edge, and they've been able to catch these running plays from behind.
If you're the 49ers, you're just squibbing this one, aren't you?
Oh, probably. I don't think I'm kicking it deep.
Nedney will indeed just squib it. This is Burleson picking it up inside his 20, but he'll find a nice comfy resting place to bring the first half to a close. A half dominated offensively by the Seattle Seahawks, who only managed to put 7 points on the board. They're leading the 49ers 7-3. Let's go down to Rich Eisen.
Thanks so very much. The Wendy's halftime report is underway as Alex Smith trots off, getting 3 points just before the end of the half. The Seahawks lead by 4, 7-3 on a rainy, chilly night in Seattle.
Here in Seattle, the rain came down all day long. We thought for a while it was going to postpone the kickoff, but instead they finally got it underway. When they did, the ball was pretty slippery and yards were elusive. But finally, both teams adjusted to it, and the Seahawks adjusted better than the 49ers did. Sean Alexander carrying 14 times for 57 yards, including a touchdown, staking the Seahawks to a 7-0 lead. But a block punt and a fake punt helped the 49ers get in position for a Joe Nedney field goal of 39 yards, leaves us 7-3. Seahawks on the front end. in Seattle, in what is a beautiful city. The weather turned out hadn't been much of a factor at all. The rain abated once we got underway.
Yeah, if they just had a couple more coffee shops in town. I think you could take an entire tour of Seattle and never go outside and just go from one coffee shop to the next.
The most literate city in America. Did you know that?
It's a cool city.
It is a
really
cool city.
is.
It is a cool city. But shame on the Seahawks for letting the 49ers stick around in this ballgame when the 49ers really have done nothing offensively.
You know, they haven't, but it's been that kind of year for Seattle. They have a way of making close games out of anything. And fortunately for them, they've been able to win almost all of those close games.
They're 4-0 in those that are 3 points or fewer.
And what he's been able to do this season. But this is a key moment. I mean, right now, not only does Seattle need to win the game, but they need to start building something. I mean, Mike Holmgren's not interested in making the playoffs. He wants to win a Super Bowl. And so they have to really begin to get something going, some momentum going as they head on towards the playoffs. They're going to win this division. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind they're going to win the division. But their goals, as always, are much bigger than that.
Joe Nedney set to get the second half underway. This is Burleson moving up to his own 9-yard line to field it. Breaking one tackle, Burleson crossing the 40, pushed out at the 46-yard line. Nedney coming up and saving what could have been an opening touchdown.
And Nate Burleson probably hasn't had quite the impact from the receiving position that they had hoped for, but returning punts and kicks, he has had a dramatic impact on the special teams. A 39-yard return here, but he has very consistently in almost every game come up with those kind of plays.
That's Jay Foreman, who is down. This is a guy who was just signed last week when the 49ers released Tony Parrish.
It just seems like it's gone that way for the 49ers. They trying to build something. They're trying to get better, trying to find young players that can make plays, guys like
and they are better.
Lawson.
They are better. I mean, this is a franchise really that only won 6 ball games the prior 2 seasons.
Well, and here's the other thing. Their salary cap was in horrible shape just a couple of years ago when Mike Nolan got here, and you'll see the impact, and as it is so often, friendly fire got him again. His own player whipped his legs into him. But the 49ers as a team right now feel really good going into this offseason. They think they've built something with these young players. They'll start to get some guys back healthy, but they have money to spend, and they are going to be very aggressive in free agency this year. They hope to have another good draft class and begin to build from there. Mike Nolan's really feeling pretty confident about where they're going with the franchise.
You know what, partner, well, we've got a delay here. Let me touch on something. We've just seen another sloppy half of football, which has become our want on Thursday night. And it begs the question, at the risk of biting the hand that feeds us, this Thursday night schedule. We've heard coaches gripe about it. Mike Holmgren last week said it was like fighting City Hall. All the coaches tell us it's less a matter of the mental preparation than the physical part of it. The guys just aren't ready. Are we seeing evidence of it in the sloppy games that we are seeing on Thursday nights?
Well, of course, we've seen it for years on Thanksgiving, and it's been a big part of it. And it's always the deal that if you're the home team and you win, then you get 10 days off afterwards, and it's significant. I personally would prefer to see these games played earlier in the season for a lot of different reasons. One, I think it's easier on the players earlier in the season. And 2, all the games would be more significant at that time of year, too.
Because they're still in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, and you, as I have, spoken to the players about it. And for example, Walter Jones, we asked him yesterday, said, when are you usually ready to play? He says, usually Friday before my body's back in shape. Well, he's out here tonight.
Yeah, but when it's earlier in the season, it almost becomes a positive because you essentially don't practice for the week of one of these games. Then the coaches usually give you 4 or 5 days off, and you come back, so your body has a chance to heal up. But at this late in the season, it doesn't do you much good.
Hasselbeck, pump fake, throwing and completing DJ Hackett once again. Boy, what a night he's having.
And they've been leaving Chad Williams, a safety, really in man coverage on DJ Hackett. And just watch some of the moves now. I mean, those are pretty sophisticated moves. And I love the little comeback to the ball at the last moment. He came out, faked to the out, curled back around to the inside, but he didn't stop when he saw the ball in the air. to give Chad Williams a chance to get on it. He kept coming back to the quarterback, pretty polished.
Another first down for Seattle as Sean Alexander loses a couple. Keith Lewis enjoying a fine night here in Seattle.
There he is, killer again. And I'd love to see guys like this have success in this league, because it's such a hard-knocking life to try and come up through special teams and have anybody anywhere notice anything that you do. And that time, Keith Lewis was probably 15 yards off the ball and came up and essentially made the play 2 yards back, deep in the backfield.
The word on Jay Foreman is a sprained right knee. His return is questionable at this point. It's 2nd and 12 for Seattle.
And that's Chuck Foreman's son. So we certainly wish him well.
Alexander working his way outside before being pushed out of bounds following the block of Max Strong. Strong, a 13-year veteran out of Georgia, and he is the prototypical lead fullback.
Yeah, and he really is the one constant out there. And for Jeremy Stevens, that's about as good a block as I've seen him make on the outside. Last year, there's a guy named Ryan Hannum here on this team. And almost to a man, when you talk to the Seattle Seahawks offensive side, they say that we really have missed a blocking tight end. They don't have one on the roster that can block like he did.
The Seahawks need 3 to keep the drive alive, and Hasselbeck completes this one to Deion Branch. First down, Seattle. Roderick Green pressured Hasselbeck and got there just a microsecond too late.
What a great play by Hasselbeck here. Just getting his feet set and throwing the football so quickly. He knew he was going to get pressure from the backside, had to get it out of there quickly. That's just an outstanding play from the quarterback.
Just got that one past the outstretched glove of Brandon Moore.
The key to it was how quickly he stopped and got the ball out.
Alexander pushed back. Keith Lewis once again coming up with a hit.
And those are called the defensive fits, the fills from the safety, and essentially there's nobody to block a safety on those plays. You can handle the 7, your 5, and the tight ends and the fullback, and that time Max Strong had a good block on the linebacker, but you can't account for that 8th guy. So every time in football you hear about the 8th guy coming down in the box, that's what they're talking about. There's one guy unblocked, and so far Keith Lewis has not missed a tackle.
Seneca Wallace is in the ball game. He is spread high to the left side. Hasselbeck throwing into the end zone, picked off. Mark Roman untouched, back up across the 25-yard line, fighting his way to the 27 before his forward progress is stopped.
Well, as good a play as the other one was, that one was that bad by Matt Hasselbeck.
Hasselbeck throwing into the end zone, Roman taking it and bringing it back. 49ers in business, trailing by 4. Following our first turnover of the game, an interception by Mark Roman, the 49ers will have the ball at their own 27-yard line. Smith will throw on first down, throw to the wide side, completing to Arnez Battle up near the first down marker.
This was some play by Mark Roman. You're going to see him essentially look off the quarterback. I don't know if that's an official NFL term or not. Jeremy Stevens is right here. Mark Roman is back here. And when he looks in at Jeremy Stevens, that means Matt Hasselbeck's going to turn out to DJ Hackett. But Mark Roman looked off Matt Hasselbeck and came up with the pick.
Good play by Roman.
Sure was.
2nd and short for the Niners. This is Frank Gore. I don't think he got it. Grant Wistrom powering his way inside from his right defensive end position. Let's hear what Frank had to say.
You're forcing the game. Now, you understand it now, right?
Yeah.
You understand it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think he said ouch. I tell you, it's really been a different story in there tonight with Eric Heitman out. This offensive line has not been nearly as good as they have been.
3rd and short. See if the 49ers can get something out of this turnover. Gore again, and he's not going to get there. Wow. Great penetration inside. by both Bernard and Wistrom on that right side.
Well, and Larry Allen got a decent push on the play on his guy, but there's just too many there to account for. They start to get a little bit of penetration. It looked like Chuck Darby inside got the penetration.
Actually from the opposite side.
And sort of disrupted it, and that's what we've seen tonight. It hasn't been the play side that's been making the play so much as it is the backside. They can't get those cutoff blocks, and they're paying the price for it. That's a huge defensive stand after the turnover by the Seahawk defense.
Especially when you consider the 49ers picked up 9 on first down.
Yep.
How about this? San Francisco 8 possessions tonight. They've had 7 3-and-outs. Andy Lee booms this one away, and Burleson will take it. Fair catch it. Why? We're not real sure.
Wow.
He had a 10-yard gap between himself and the nearest defender, but his team leads 7-3.
College basketball returns to NASN. Visit NASN.com for scheduling, news, and information.
Back in Seattle, where the Seahawks have the ball, leading 7-3, and there's a look at a troubling graphic for Sean Alexander. You take a look at the last 4 rushing champions and what happens the following year. Their drop-off is considerable.
Yeah, of course, Sean's missed a lot of games this year with that foot injury, too, to account for much of that.
He'll only pick up 2 there. Let's go on down to the field where Marshall Falk is standing by. Marshall, what do you make of that? Rushing leaders going backwards in the succeeding year.
What you say?
Marshall, do you hear me? I'm sorry.
I got you.
Okay, what's the deal? How do you see that? Rusher men leading the NFL in rushing one year and going backwards in the succeeding year.
You know, it's just injuries, and when you lose a guy like Steve Hutchinson to an offensive line that was so heavily and dominant running to the left side, and even when they ran right, he would cut the ball back left. That'll take yardage away from you. And not to mention, once you lead the league in rushing, that bullseye is on your back, and teams are looking forward to stopping you when you play against them.
Okay, but we've got a call here against San Francisco. It's going to result in the first down. Marshall, the change up front would account for, and the injuries would account for Alexander. So we look at that list: Ricky Williams, Jamal Lewis, Curtis Martin, and Sean. This is definitely a trend. You lead the league in rushing, and the following year you struggle.
Well, not to mention the high volume in carries, that when you're a guy that leads the league in rushing, you're going to get the ball a whole lot of times. And that next year, you kind of suffer from it because obviously your team will be going deep into the playoffs if you lead the league in rushing, if you have a lot of carries. So therefore, that next year, you're gonna suffer from that. And like I said again, teams are going to try to stop you and make your team beat them other ways.
When you watch Alexander, does he seem to you a different back than he was a year ago?
I don't think that he's different. I think that the guys that he's had blocking in front of him, he's had, 2 or 3 different left guards, and at times they haven't been in sync. And when you miss time as a running back, when you come back, like we saw the first time that they played the 49ers, he wasn't as effective.
You know, Marshall, this is going to impact you, but do you think it's a risk to sign a contract for a running back that is plus 30? Because in general, they have not been that effective after 30.
You know, it's bad that it's like that, but that's kind of the case. But I think that Sean was the exception to that, because if you watch his style of running, a lot of people will say that he's afraid to get hit. To me, it's Sean being a smart runner. He's a guy that when he has to make contact, he'll get the tough yardage. But for the most part, he protects himself and understands that in this game it's all about longevity and how many yards you can gain.
All right, Marshall, thank you. Maurice Morris getting in for Sean Alexander and getting a first down as he follows the block of Max Strong just past the 45-yard line.
And Maurice Morris is one of those guys that he pounds it in for all his worth. I mean, he really, when he gets an opportunity, you see him slam his way in there. But Sean Alexander is exactly right. I thought Marshall described him very well. he's a guy that is going to preserve his body a little bit. When he gets in some piles, he's going to end up trying to split the defenders and go down and not take that direct hit. And a lot of times, and they talked about it, when he was out of the lineup this year, Maurice Morris was in the training room almost every week. I mean, he was just taking a beating with that style of running.
And here's a graphic that supports what you were talking about, Chris. This is runners over the age of 30 and how they have fared. Tiki Barber being the exception there, as well as Curtis Martin, but you don't see anybody past 31 on this list.
Yeah, but Tiki Barber's decided to retire on his own, and Curtis Martin basically has run himself out. And so it's always difficult when you give that third contract to a running back heading for 30. I'm not always in favor of that one.
Hasselbeck looking deep and overthrowing Deion Branch.
You know, but how do you not? You know what I mean? I mean, as a general manager, as an owner, I mean, here was a guy that was the MVP of the league a season ago. He carried your football team to the Super Bowl, set the touchdown record, and yet you almost have to be such a jerk to say, I'm not going to pay you because the history says...
But you do have to look at that history and say
exactly
that the
right.
odds are against me.
And it's tough, and you want him to sign a short-term deal, but he's earned that money. And he goes in and he said, wait a minute, I've given you everything I have, and if my body's beat up, it was beat up for you. And it's really one of the tough parts of being a general manager in the National Football League.
Third and 8, Seahawks trying to keep the dream alive and drive alive, and Hasselbeck will be brought down in the arms of Isaac Sopoanga, getting his first sack of the night.
And once again, Hasselbeck looking for DJ Hackett on the outside. That time the coverage was there and nowhere to throw the football. That's become his first look. And then when that wasn't there, things began to break down after that.
I knew it was drive alive, not dream alive, by the way.
I just thought you thought it was a little bigger moment than I did, you know? Sort of an Olympic moment or something. I don't know.
Kind of a Jesse Jackson moment, I'm afraid. Blackemeyer boots it away. This one takes a Seattle bounce. Oliver Celestin downing it down at the 2-yard line. The 49ers backed up again with 5 minutes left in the third. When we left you, we thought the 49ers were backed up on their own 2-yard line, but the officials ruled that Celestin's left foot came in contact with the goal line, and so this one's been brought out to the 20. What do you think about that call?
Well, I don't know. Did his foot touch the line? I don't know that there's anything conclusive one way or another. We've seen just about every replay angle of it, and it's, again, we go back to the basketball rule. If the foot's on the line, you touch the ball, you're out of bounds. If the foot's in front of the line, you touch the ball, you're allowed to recover it, but there's nothing conclusive there.
In any event, 49ers will have 1st and 10 from the 20 instead of the 2. Smith swinging this side. Frank Gore upended by Julian Peterson. What a lick. Woo.
And Julian Peterson was so fast, he ran right by Larry Allen. Larry Allen's out in front of this play and just couldn't catch Julian Peterson. And the 49ers are saying, tell me again why we let this guy get out of here on free agency. Just plows right into him. You're starting to see him every month now, starting to get back to the form that he had with the 49ers before the Achilles problem. Huge play there.
Loss of 4, and the crowd at Quest Field into it now. Smith over the middle. This is Gore again.
And Julian Peterson, when he played with the San Francisco 49ers, I think he played almost every position on the field. There was a game in which he played safety, he's been lined up at corner. He's just one of those all-purpose kind of guys, can run with anybody on the football field. A real talent. Some questions, could he come back all the way? But I think he's proven tonight.
He was the ultimate hybrid before we coined the term.
Yep.
Big third down for Smith and the 49ers. He's looking long. This one's batted down. Julian Peterson again.
And Rocky Bernard is going to have a chance to pick this one out of the air. Julian Peterson coming on the stunt inside, gets his hand on the ball, and then Rocky Bernard, I believe it is, no, that was Lofa Tatupu over there, who almost came up with the interception.
Another 3 and out for the 49ers. Now 8 of 9 possessions have been 3 and out. Another line drive punt. Burleson will try to return this one from his own 36, trying to get to the outside. And Brian Jennings won't let him. Jennings, the long snapper, being a monster on special teams tonight. With 3:37 to go in the third period. Seahawks in front, 7-3.
Julian Peterson has been everywhere tonight. That time coming through and fighting off the block of Maurice Hicks and still able to get his hand up to knock this one down. About as good of defensive plays back-to-back as you're going to see out of a linebacker in this league. Julian Peterson having a monster night.
Once again, the Seahawks enjoying good starting field position, this time from their own 37. Alexander Stutter stepping his way across the 40. Melvin Oliver, the rookie out of LSU, getting there with the stop.
Let's give a little credit to the San Francisco 49ers tonight as well. Defensively, they've stepped up. They've been playing without Derek Smith. They've been making plays, getting plays out of Marcus Douglas, Melvin Oliver. Bryant Young's been making plays. They've been tough tonight.
And Keith Lewis, who's had a great
had a great game.
Give Alexander a gain of 3. Hasselbeck throwing this side for Jeremy Stevens. Not the crowd favorite.
Well, he is after that play. Nice job with the pickup on this one. Really, the 49ers just coming with a 4-man rush. Bryant Young got there just a fraction late. And Jeremy Stevens, I don't know why, I kind of find myself holding my breath every time the ball comes to him. I mean, I don't even cheer for Seattle. I don't even know what it would be like for Mike Holmgren or the fans.
Gets the Seahawks cross midfield and into San Francisco territory. When last they were down here, Hasselbeck threw a pick. Hasselbeck flushed out again, dumping it off on the right side. That time Brandon Moore applying the pressure.
And that was a good read that time by Matt Hasselbeck. There would have been a lot of young quarterbacks would have thrown an interception in that situation. Shante Spencer looked like he was going to back off in coverage. All of a sudden he stopped short, and Hasselbeck pulled the ball down just in time. And I think he's saying if they come down in that coverage, you turn it into a slant. Remember, you've got a bunch of receivers that really don't know this offense all that well. You had Deion Branch, who came over from New England. Nate Burleson came over from Minnesota. And Burleson's probably struggled to pick this thing up more than anybody.
Strong and Alexander in the backfield. We've got a whistle before the snap. Procedural calls, preliminary indication.
False start, number 71, offense. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Don't forget, every Sunday, Steve Mariucci and Deion Sanders join Rich Eisen for NFL Game Day. See highlights and analysis of every game. NFL Game Day, that's Sunday nights immediately following the NBC game.
Do a nice job with that show.
You talking about the NBC game?
Both, how about that?
Okay, that's fair. Hasselbeck looking deep for Deion Branch. Incomplete.
So many times you see quarterbacks and receivers after a cornerback has jumped a route. We talked about Shante Spencer jumped the route before that, so they said fine. They go with the double move, a little slant and go. The crowd's going to get a chance to see that one, and it looked like there was a little contact from Walt Harris before that ball came in there. I'm not sure that Deion Branch would have caught it anyway, but there was some contact.
It's contact on the right bicep, and the ball sailed over to left shoulder. Leaves the Seahawks with a 3rd and long. Hasselbeck will try to get it all, was going for Stevens, incomplete. And the punting unit will be brought back out again.
That's a tough play. It's a good play by Hasselbeck there. He threw it the only spot that he had a chance for Jeremy Stevens. Really kind of ran in behind a linebacker in coverage, and then by the time he was able to arrow back out of the route, it just didn't have time, Hasselbeck didn't, to get the ball there to him. And I think that's probably what they're talking about on the sideline, going, hey, come on. I used to hear that from Boomer and Kenny Anderson. Hey, I'll have all day. You got to get that thing done.
Plackemire gets this one away. Brandon Williams will let it sail over his head into the end zone. We've got a flag. We'll stay here.
We got a personal foul. Excuse me, an unsportsmanlike foul. Number 26, the receiving team. Player went out of bounds and blocked while the ball was in the air.
That was Mark Roman, the guilty party, and it'll be half the distance. We'll come back in just a moment. Seattle leading 7-3. Back in the great Northwest, in the city of Seattle, where you're watching in HD as the 49ers go against the Seattle Seahawks. This 49er drive, like so many this evening, starting deep in their own end. They're backed up to their own 10-yard line. 1:50 to play in the third period. Frank Gore is the lone back. He'll get it. Following the block of Larry Allen, looking for room, struggling his way to the 13-yard line. Ball comes loose, but after he was down.
Well, Larry Allen, once again, they're sort of reduced to one scheme here, and that's following Larry Allen almost no matter where he goes. He has been the lead at the point of attack on almost all of these plays in the second half, and that time actually got enough of them to allow him to turn up the field. This has been a pretty rough night for this offense.
The 12th man here at Quest Field getting into it. That fake fooled no one. Smith flirting with his own goal line. Again, that was Julian Peterson applying the pressure.
And Jordan Babineau just absolutely perfect in his coverage. Ooh. Peterson, of course, made the play on the screen, deflected the ball, really has been all over, and believe me, Alex Smith is not going to outrun Julian Peterson.
What a strange ball game, Chris. One team has 18 first downs, the other one has 3. One team has 158 yards passing, the other one has 51. And yet they're only separated by 4 points on the scoreboard. 49ers 1 for 11 on third down tonight. Make it 2 for 12. Completes this one to Antonio Bryant, his first catch of the night.
And we get a late flag down on that one as well.
Looks like this one's going to go against Seattle. Everything's a conference now.
No question.
After the play, personal foul. Number 69, offense. Since the offense made a first down, after the penalty for half the distance, result will be 1st and 10, San Francisco.
That was Tony Raggi, the substitute guard who has been pressed into service at center after Eric Heitman broke his leg in the first period.
So we can pick it up here at the end of the play.
There it is, blocking the back.
Okay.
On Kelly Herndon.
All right.
Didn't look like much.
Foul, huh? They don't like guys coming in and picking off people off the pile. And for the 49ers, they pick up a first down and lose yardage on the play. It's kind of been the way it's been going.
We're inside the 42nd mark in the third period. 49ers trailing 7-3. Once again backed up, this time on their own 13-yard line. Smith trying something down the far sideline for Arnaz Battle, completed. Kelly Herndon on the coverage.
Wow, what a throw that time by Alex Smith. After the pump fake, he stood flat-footed and threw that thing almost 60 yards in the air. And Arnaz Battle, he was talking about, here's a former quarterback, and I'm not sure that Herndon really believed that he could get it out there that far. 54 yards on the play, but when you take into consideration that he's standing about 7 yards behind, what a throw.
49ers with their best penetration of the second half. We'll start the fourth quarter when we come back. The 49ers with their biggest play of the night, a 54-yard strike to Arnaz Battle. He held on to it.
He did. That's the way you're supposed to hold on to it when you go out of bounds on that other play, too.
We know you were right before.
Thank you.